Welcome all to Spotlight Sessions, where we shine a light on incredible individuals and organizations and the work that they do. I am your host, Josh Basil. I'm a C4-5 quadriplegic, paralyzed below my shoulders, and a power wheelchair user. I'm the Community Relations Manager at accessiBe's and a passionate disability rights advocate and attorney focused on breaking down barriers to access and inclusion for people with disabilities. Today, on accessiBe's Spotlight Sessions, we're joined by Anne Bovelett, and who is the founder of annebovelett.eu. Welcome, Anne.
Hi, Josh. Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad that you're here today, and I'm excited for the audience to learn more about you. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. I come from a very creative family with a few technicians in between. So I got a lot of great genes for tech and art. And I was lucky enough to be able to integrate that in my work and in my life. And this is what I took with me throughout my whole career, whether I'm creating websites or documentation or well, on whatever I do. I'm also a painter. And foremost in all, I am I don't know how you say that. I am from the Netherlands. You can probably hear that in my accent. I'm an accessibility advocate like you are, Josh. And I kind of fell into that a couple of years ago when I read a tweet from a lady who wrote, "Today, my dad was on the phone crying because he couldn't use a website without my help. He is blind. People learn about accessibility." And I can tell you, I was so upset about that tweet. I was like, I don't know so much about this. And I quickly learned everything I know about it was wrong. All my assumptions are just like, I knew like 5%. And from that day on, I've started integrating what I call accessible thinking into everything I do.
I love that accessible thinking. It's just first of all, it's a great way to think, but it's like it's another angle at it, another approach. Tell us more about that.
Well, some things go automatically. So, like, for example, I am one of the organizers of WordCamp Europe, and I'm actually in the sales and sponsors team. But we have to think about what is going to be where in the venue. And my first question is, where are the bathrooms for people in wheelchairs? Are there elevators? This is a question that would have never come to my mind a couple of years ago. It's just there. Or when any website, I can't look at a website without trying if I can work it with my keyboard.
And navigate it. It's like with the on-screen keyboard or your regular keyboard.
To me, it's so much more. Accessibility is also a social thing. It's being a good host to your friends. It's being good host to people you don't know. It's not just in a technical sense. Is where I am. Can anybody come in? I mean, if someone has an allergy, my house is very inaccessible because I have 2 cats. I even began thinking about asking people, hey, you're coming to my place for the first time. Are you allergic to cats? I used to forget.
It's an important question to ask for somebody that is allergic, and like just with any website or any building, if before you invite somebody over, you want them to be able to get in.
Yeah.
And I think so much of a building is like, if if a doctor said, please come on over, I'll check you up. I get there and I can't get in. It's just like, okay, this is a bad experience. Or it's the same thing with a website. If you get invited, you put your URL up there, on Google, people come to your website's door. If they can't navigate and go through it, that's not fun.
Oh yeah.
So,
I'm working in the background without telling my customers that I'm trying to redo their websites to make them accessible. Those were the ones that I did before I learned all about this. Very often I have to ask for help. I always have this thing feeling like, oh, I think I don't know anything. I know a lot, but I always have this feeling I don't know enough.
but I think that's part of accessible thinking. You know, accessibility is evolving, and it's not something that, you know, you do once. You keep at it, you keep evolving with it, you keep making better and improving.
Yeah.
And I know for me, accessibility has changed from 2004 when I was first injured to
Yeah.
now. It's just so much has evolved, so much has changed. The world has
Did
changed.
you did
Technology.
you this is one of the questions I've always wanted to ask you if I'm allowed. Did you ever even think about accessibility before you had your accident?
Not really at all. The only thing I knew about disability was that Superman was paralyzed.
Yeah.
That's really, I never had any students in my class in elementary school or throughout school that had a significant disability. I wasn't impacted by it at that young of age. And I had all four of my grandparents, and they were all like super healthy. Like I
Yeah.
didn't have any family member, but then all of a sudden I became paralyzed at 18, and my eyes were open to a whole new world.
Yeah.
And now it's everything disability. Now it's what can I do?
Is it
Who do I know? Who can I talk to?
Yeah.
I'm learning so much from so many different
It's crazy,
disability
right?
communities as well.
Yeah. One of the crazy discoveries for me was when you were speaking about online accessibility is to discover that I'm actually, in many ways, I'm part of the target group. I have ADHD, which I was officially diagnosed with only a few years ago. Um, I have, what do you call this? Dyslexia. I have this very, very strange form of dyslexia. And I mean, I just never thought about it. And I just know I always, sites with a lot of animations, skip, and sites with that are that don't have a good overview, you call it. How do you say this in English? This is one of the problems I have. Sometimes I speak so many languages throughout the day. The layout, messy layouts. I mean, one of the sites I hate most is Amazon.com. It's fugly, and it takes me to places where I don't want to be, and I come down and I see 10 different things. Oh, maybe you like this and maybe you like that, but it's like in a disturbing way to me, at least. I mean, maybe officially they have a lot of success, but I think if they would think through how they did that, they could actually sell a lot more.
Well, so often when you do have more accessibility in mind, you create a better user experience. And like I think you were talking a little bit before about kind of your unique, you know, disabilities that you have, and then basically having different tools within your disabilities to be able to be less distracting or to be able to have a better experience. I love recognizing our unique abilities and figuring out what those tools are with learning.
Yeah, and one of the things I discovered about people who carry the burden of a disability is that they usually don't think in what they can't do. They are thinking in what they can do, or thinking like, why not? What do I have to do to make this happen? I haven't met many who just sat in a corner and said, my life is over. Everybody has this urge, this fire. I mean, if someone loses the fire, I would be so devastated. I would do anything I can to reignite that fire. Last week I was with a friend. He is nearly blind, and I got to experience from close up. I was um how do you say that, putting back a Mac together for him, and we bought him a big screen, and he said, I can't stand the dark mode. It's still too harsh. But the light mode was difficult as well. So he is in front of this screen. But what I noticed is once we got that right, he was like, I can see this. I can do stuff. I can send you an iMessage. And he was one of those people that lost a lot of joy, I think, in life because he didn't have his possibilities, and now he does. He has technology. Like you and I, we're both crazy about technology, right? And
I love, yeah, technology is life changing.
yeah,
It's, and you said it so well, and I just want to kind of reemphasize what you were saying earlier about focus. And for me, it's so much of it's on perspective. Like if you every day focus on what you can't do, life becomes an uphill battle.
oh yeah,
But if you focus on everything you can do, it's just you have you have the ability to really tackle everything that's in front of you with more energy, more optimism, more, it just feels a lot more of an accomplishment when you do that. Like, being paralyzed below my shoulders, there are a ton of things I can't
oh
do.
yeah,
And if I focused on every single one of those things I can't do, life would suck.
oh
It would.
yeah,
It would be it'd feel like every day was just not fun.
no,
But like focusing on all the little things I can do, I really get energized to tackle what's in front of me.
yeah,
And the truth is, before my injury, I did things 1 million ways, and now after my injury, I get to do it 1 million new ways
yeah,
and 1 million different ways, and I love that. So, thank you for bringing that up to the viewers today. That's
oh
such a
yeah.
good perspective.
Thank you.
That's awesome. And so, what does your day to day look like right now?
Currently, I'm in the phase where I have to start discerning where I'm going to put my focus on because I'm very engaged in accessibility projects, but most of them are volunteer projects because there are a lot of schools and foundations that say, I want my site to be accessible, but we can't afford it. And they want to build new sites. And that's what I like them to do because then I can teach them how to do it right from scratch. And where I do not know exactly if they want weird stuff with funky pop-ups and all that stuff where it gets a little bit more complicated, I get my friends who know how to do it. I don't hear you anymore.
Nope, I'm here.
Okay. I saw your mouth moving. I thought maybe you were saying something. That's part of what I do. I'm creating documentation, video documentation. It's part of my job to create video tutorials just in general for plugin makers. And I'm an avid painter. And so my time is divided between these things and then some of the volunteer stuff that I do for WordCamp Europe. I'm moderator in the Elementor Facebook community. It has 120,000 members currently, and that group is growing like crazy. And I
That's
love
awesome.
hanging in that group because there I get to plant some seeds about accessibility. Again, I see people struggle. Hey, do you like my design? People show off their designs, which I love. I mean, you have to have a lot of courage to do that in a group that large. And it's just so nice when you can say to someone, man, your design is really great. And you know what? If you change the contrast like this, it's going to be great for a larger group of people. And just give them the why of that. And that is,
And the why is so important. You're
yeah,
opening your doors.
yeah. And another thing I do or have begun doing, let me put it, is to build bridges from between those who care about accessibility and those who don't know, accessibility is something you should be caring about. And not only from a human point of view. I mean, I can't imagine how frustrating it must be when you want to buy a new pair of shoes online and you can't use the checkout. I mean, I get pissed off about
Been
clunky.
there, done that.
Huh? Yeah, you probably
I've been
done
there,
that a
done
lot
that.
of times. And it's like, I'm like, people, they're consumers, they want to buy. You frustrate your customers, you frustrate people, and you can do better. And this is also something I use the channel for, to discuss this with people. I also get under people's skin sometimes. I'm upfront, I'm like, I really like your no coding solution, but maybe you want to change this and this in the code because it makes this or that inaccessible. And it's an incredible joy when they are like, oh, you're right, we'll change it.
Well, building bridges and having healthy conversations allows things to continue to improve.
Yeah.
Feedback's a good thing, and it's something that we all need to embrace and welcome because it's part of accessible thinking,
Yeah.
as you would say, right?
Yeah. And
Um,
and one of the things I want to focus more on is to make people feel safe when they're learning about accessibility, because especially in my branch, web development and web design, we always think we have to know everything right there and then. But it doesn't work that way. If you didn't learn how to code with semantic HTML and you are using some funky framework and you're not aware of what you can change, you have to learn about that. And I mean, it's like, I think max 50 HTML tags, semantic HTML tags that you have to know. And some of the accessibility experts are like, well, it's really stupid that you don't know that. But again, I like to make a bridge between those people, because someone like me, I didn't discover this until I was 48, 49. Like, oh, that is why you have to use semantic HTML. So I'm like, if I didn't know that, how can I expect from everybody else to know it?
and that's why we need to teach. That's why we need to be able to have conversations to let the world.
Yeah.
Raising awareness is just so important because, like, I've been at this for a while, but I'm still learning so much from others in the community, and I'm always going to be both a mentor and a mentee for the rest of my life.
Yeah,
The
me
second
too.
that you stop being one of those, you're basically closing the door on accessible thinking, accessible learning, and all that good stuff. And with the great work that you're doing at annebovelett.eu and with your volunteer work, what's an accomplishment that you're most proud of?
Every time I get someone to do better, that I remember a lovely conversation. I was at a meetup, for an elementary meetup, and there was this lady who was writing texts, and she was like, what does accessibility have to do with what I do? And I said, well, if you use links in your text that says about this book, click here. You want to know more? Click here. And I said, someone who is asking for a link list, like a screen reader user, this person gets click here, click here, click here, click here, click here. And she was like, I had no idea. And she was happy. And she is applying that, or I had a talk with this great guy who is doing stuff in Shopify and WooCommerce and all this stuff. And he had a fantastic website, but the contrast was like very inaccessible. And I said, are you willing to listen to me about that? Yes, I do. And weeks later, he tweets, look, Andy, see? And that's what I'm proud of, not because I told them to do it, but I am proud of them doing it.
That's awesome. and being a part of that journey with them and kind of being that catalyst, that mentor, that educator. I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah, there was this small anecdote I wanted to share with you about accessibility and language. In the German language, it is called barrierefrei, which means free of barriers.
Okay. I like that.
And I like to say, you can try to make an environment as void of barriers as possible. So we would say barrierearm. And this sometimes leads to discussions with some of the hardcore specialists. Like, you can't say that, but I like to think from a practical point of view. You can never do it right for everybody, but you can
You
do.
can't you it's I wish it was that easy, but like you gotta do as well as you can for
Yeah,
as many people as possible and make it as usable as possible because accessibility doesn't always usability doesn't always translate to accessibility and accessibility doesn't always kind
exactly.
of
But they
translate to
but they
usability.
do intertwine.
They do
And
in
and
so many ways. They define.
and it's so much fun to see how people respond when you explain that to them. Like, I was invited to write a chapter in a book for marketing for schools and universities by Warren Lane Nida and Bridget Willard. Maybe you've heard of them. And they invited me to write this chapter, and I was reading through their book, and I'm like, yeah, they're talking about all that stuff that I'm going to talk about too, but from a different angle. And that is so much fun because it's intertwining. It is not.
This intertwine and intersectionality. There's
Yeah,
things are crossing. Good things happen when that happens. But Anne, I just want to thank you so much for being on accessiBe's Spotlight sessions today and for sharing your journey, sharing your wisdom, sharing your accessible thinking, and just thank you for being here with us. And
thank you too. I
uh,
hope it made sense because I always go from here to there, right?
I really enjoyed it today.
Yeah, me
So
too.
you take care and thank you. And to all of our viewers, until next time, and have a great day.
Thank you.